Salutare discipuli. This video is in preparation for exercise 40D in Ecce Book 2. Now, this video does not include everything you might need because there's so much stuff between exercise 32B and 40D. There are 8 chapters of advanced Latin grammar in there. So I picked 3 of the biggest topics, the ones that I think might give you the most trouble. Okay, so we're going to focus on deponent verbs, present participles, and perfect passive participles, the things that you're going to see the most and that I think will give you the most trouble. Okay, now there's other little things that are really important and that still might mess you up. So if you think you need to, or if you come across something you don't know, take a look through chapters 32 to 40 just to get an idea of what you might need for 40D. Okay? So let's start with present participles, nicest one of the 3. Present participles, they're participles, so they're verbs acting like adjectives. I also call these adjectival verbs or verbal adjectives. Either one, doesn't matter. Now, present participles are the ones that are happening right now. So we're going to translate these as ing, whatever. So walking, running, sitting, laughing, as long as you're using that ing word to describe a noun is really important. I put this in here in case you're going from English to Latin ever. I don't want you to think that any English word ending in ing is a present participle, because it's not. You need something like the laughing girl, showing in this example that laughing, the participle, is actually describing girl. That's super important. Or maybe that's a good enough example. It'll take me too long to think something and then go through it. So let's look at some stuff about present participles. Maybe give you an idea of what they look like, what you should be looking for. Okay? So how to make present participles. This is important not just for how to make them, but how to pick them out. Okay, and don't pay attention to any accents or anything like that. We don't do accents because ancient Romans didn't do accents. So I think that's a really good reason not to. So there's the present infinitive, where the second principal part has an RE on the end of it. You want to take it off to get your present stem. Notice we're using the present stem for a present participle. That's not too crazy. And then you're going to add on to that little stem that you have an NS. So let me show you what that might look like. We would have, well, this is another example, but in Latin. So amo amare, our go-to example. Let's take off the RE and we are left with ama, right? And now I'm going to add in the NS like that page just showed me to do. So amans, ama, the part in all caps, that is our stem. The NS is the ending. Now, they won't all have an NS. Okay, so this is just the nominative singular. Let's keep going. Ama, we're going to still use that stem, but the NS is going to change to an NT. And you're not done yet, because amant, that's just a normal form. They love, right? So we can't stop there. We need to put a third declension noun ending on it. Don't ask why, because then you're just going to cause yourself more of a headache. So the genitive singular third declension noun ending is is. So amantis. Keep going in the right order, of course. In the dative is next. Start with that stem. Make sure you spelled the stem right. Add in your MT and your I ending for dative singular. Ama, add in your NT, oops, and your EM ending for accusative singular. Let's do one more. The ablative, ama, your stem, NT, your participle indicator, and then E as your ablative ending. Okay, let's move on to perfect passive participles. The next hardest part. These are still verbal adjectives. just like the present participles are, but they aren't in the present tense anymore, so they're going to look different. There won't be any ings on the actual verb, but let's translate this as having. There is the ing, but it's not on the actual verb. The passive part of this is been, having been, and now the perfect part of it is the actual verb, so having been loved. We're going to use that as our example. Actually, instead of having an example, I'm going to sort of standardize it a little bit. Having been whatevered, having been loved, having been entertained, having been called, things like that. Okay? Now, again, you have to make sure that this is describing a noun. So when you use a perfect passive participle, it might actually look different than having been whatevered. It could just be whatevered. And this is the case in which you are going to need to pay attention to whether it is describing the noun or not. If it's not describing a noun, it's not a participle. So let's look at an English example. This is always in your book. The cook, there's your noun, having been called, was given praise, is what your book's example always is in that chapter. So the having been called part, that is your participle. Okay, so let's see if I can do what I want to do here. Here we go. Having been called, there's your participle. Now, these ones are actually a little bit easier to form. We're just going to give a Latin example here, but I'm going to need more principal parts. Amo, amare, amawi, amatos, to love, of course. This time, I'm going to use this guy, and I don't have to do anything to it. It's totally done. So let's translate that sentence up above. Coquus, for cook. It is masculine nominative singular. So since this verb is acting like an adjective, you need to include, you actually need to include the number, case, and gender and make sure that they match. So amatos is masculine nominative singular, just like coquus, so they match. Was given praise. Was given. I made this kind of difficult. Let's do the accusative first, and then was given dabator. Almost made it present. But don't pay attention to anything else. We just need this guy. Boom. Okay. And now we have to go to deponent verbs. This is really a big topic because it's hard to understand because there are no English equivalents. So it is a verb that looks passive, but is never translated as passive. So looks passive, translated active. Annoying, I know. But let's look at some stuff. We need to look at, let's see, this chart. There are still conjugations for deponent verbs, and they're really quite similar to the other conjugations, like of a normal verb. Amo, amare, are tells us its first conjugation. Sedeo, sedere, ere tells us its second conjugation. So here they're a little different, ari, eri, but still similar. Third conjugation is the annoying one, like cado, cadere, the ere tells us it is third conjugation. However, if in the passive, you have to take that whole ere off, add an I. So if you see that I in the second principal part of a deponent verb, you know right away it's third conjugation. And then like dormio, dormire is fourth conjugation of a normal verb, but instead of ire, it's iri in the deponent. There it is. So that's how you can tell it's deponent. But Otherwise, if you don't know that the verb you're dealing with is deponent, your translation is going to be all wonky because it looks passive, like we said, but it's translated actively. So that's going to totally flip your sentence backwards if you don't realize you're dealing with a deponent. So this is where knowing your principal parts and knowing how to tell what your conjugation is super important. Okay, so because if you don't remember that conator is from conor, conari, conato sum, you don't know its deponent, so you don't know that you need to translate it as active. Okay. Um, Best of luck with 32B. Let me give you your final direction on your sheet. I would like you to um, write down your favorite famous Roman. And you have to tell me something they did or something that happened that makes them your favorite if I ask. Okay, so I need your favorite Roman's name written down. If you only know one, Julius Caesar is fine. Latin joke. Okay. Straw out.